Good morning. Today I'm honored to present on behalf of my university, Philadelphia University in Jordan, and on working on a project with uh, Gothenburg University and Uppsala University, where I'm visiting Sweden from 10 September till 22 of September, working on this project. And allow me to present something in brief about fighting extremism and terrorism through education. To begin with a glimpse concerning Jordan to all Sweden people, the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan is strategically located in the Middle East, bound by Syria to the north, Iraq to the northeast, Saudi Arabia to the east and south, and the Red Sea to the south, and Palestine to the west. Now, Jordan covers a diversity of landscapes. The country has an area of 89,213 square kilometers. As the crossroads of the Middle East, it's known, and with the lands of Jordan, and that has served as a strategic nexus connecting Asia, Africa, and Europe. Thus, since the dawn of civilization, Jordan geographically has given it an important role to play as a conduit for trade and communications, connecting east and west, north and south. And Jordan, in that, continues to play this role today that is very important. Now, if we want to talk about the system, let's introduce this information that the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan is a constitutional monarchy with a representative government based on a constitution established in 1952, and His Majesty King Abdullah II is the head of state and chief executive and the commander-in-chief of the Jordanian armed forces. Now, Jordan has a reputation of dynamism, moderation, and peace brokering in the Middle East. His Majesty King Abdullah II rules over a state which has peacefully absorbed Palestinian refugees over the past 30 years. Now, Jordan, with a majority with a majority of Islamic population and the Christian minority, it remains an oasis for peace in a troubled region, as you know. Now, the General Intelligence Directorate, which is the GID, is the primary government agency responsible for counterterrorism, and it operates with support from various elements within Jordan and the armed forces, the Public Security Directorate, and the Gendarmerie. Now, Jordanian security services disrupted a number of terrorist plots in various stages of operational planning, while successful interdictions showcase the government's efforts. They come in response to attempts to conduct terrorist operations in Jordan from a variety of terrorist groups or individuals with terrorist aspirations, including, of course, those inspired by the ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Now, I think it's good to begin with definitions and to agree on definitions concerning stopping terrorism. Now, terrorism is an action or threat designed to influence the government or intimidate the public. So, its purpose is to advance a political, religious, or ideological cause, and the current UK definition of terrorism that I'm quoting here is given in the Terrorism Act in 2006, which says that in the UK, terrorism is defined as a violent action that, first of all, endangers a person's life other than that of a person committing the action, and it involves serious violence against a person. It causes serious damage to property. It creates serious risk to the public health and safety, It interferes with seriously disrupts an electronic system sometimes. Now, extremism, if you want to define also extremism, in order to stop extremism, we must define the behavior or beliefs of people who try to bring about political change, but by using violent and extreme methods. So extremism is the fact of someone having beliefs that most people think are either unreasonable or unacceptable. And extremism is political thought and action that intentionally employs intimidation or violence to pursue political ends. Now, let's continue and talk about this concerning my work, as I'm so interested in this field. I think this is my mission to work on vision of having peace in the world. So I worked on working on a training guide that was held in collaboration with Media Institute in Jordan, and that was funded by the EU. This project, I produced a toolkit that was completed in 2020 in cooperation with the Jordanian Media Institute, and it was given and translated into Arabic and English, two languages, which is on enhancing Jordanian media's ability to combat extremism and terrorism through media literacy, quality of content, and media performance. And that was also used in the Gulf area in Emirates state. Now, another publication was my book, which is entitled Terrorism of Thought and the Thought of Terrorism, which is a reflection on terrorism and ideology. Also, it's good to mention here that in order to work on that, it's you have to consider all the aspects in countering extremism and terrorism in Jordan. So Jordan now is implementing a national strategy for preventing violent extremism, coordinated by an office with the Prime Ministry, and the priority areas for engagement include countering terrorist ideology, building social cohesion among civil society, and assisting law enforcement. Now, officials regularly engage experts on topics such as the role of women and girls in terrorism prevention, and the monitoring and evaluation of local conditions conducive to terrorism. Now, the government of Jordan continues to be a bulwark on the ongoing fight against terrorism and extremism, and it remains one of the most valuable and trusted allies in this matter. Now, we in Jordan, to fight extremism through education, we in Jordan believe that education is a powerful tool to build learners' responsibilities and to build learners' resilience to extremism and terrorism. And it helps strengthen learners' commitment to nonviolence and peace, in particular by addressing hateful and violent narratives. And this crucial work starts as early as possible on the benches of schools. So it should be, that extremism and terrorism is a threat to peace and tolerance, and it's constant menace to security and human rights and sustainable development. So it's not enough to counter it; we must prevent it. And because no one is born as an extremist or terrorist, that they are made. So education, and here I quote Nelson Mandela, who said that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And this is very, very important, because that in fighting extremism, we need to concentrate on the institutional level. and the government that has established a number of centers in Jordan, as you know, and directorates concerned with confronting the phenomena of extremism and terrorism in response to the contents of the national plan to combat extremism and terrorism. And among the most important of these centers and directorates is the Directorate for Combating Extremism and Terrorism, which was established to follow up the implementation of ministries and institutions. And the Government Committee also, which is concerned with implementing the national plan to counter extremism, which was issued in 2014, and the Community Peace Center was founded in 2015 as one of the projects of the Public Security Directorate's strategic plan to combat extremism ideology or extremist ideology. Now, in 2017, it's worth mentioning that Jordanian Center for Combating Intellectual Extremism was established, and it is known that it's an academic research center specialized in studying and combating extremist ideology and affiliated with the forces, the Jordanian armed forces. Now, the Jordanian strategy to counter or to confront extremism and terrorism is based on the vision of His Majesty King Abdullah II, according to three dimensions, if I can say. First, in the short term, which is represented by the military action carried out against terrorist and extremist groups. And second dimension in the medium term, which is security and intelligence dimension with brotherly and friendly countries. And the third dimension is the long term, which is the intellectual dimension that aims to immunize and immunize the individual and society from scourges of extremist ideology. Now, let's say that the concept of a modern education system in Jordan is centered on the basis of emphasizing the importance of social peace, as it is expressed the state of peace and harmony within the society itself, and the promotion of social peace and the rejection of extremism and terrorism in schools and in universities. You know that it requires Jordan to re-educate students on the basis of tolerance and rejection of violence and terrorism, and the reduction of the wide gap between society and schools and universities, and also emphasizing the rejection of fanaticism and hatred and extremism and fear and and other things related. Now, providing the opportunity for critical thinking, not to imposing a unilateral view, and accepting others who are differently or different, who are different ethnically, let's say, and nationally or religiously. Introducing also the subject of peaceful coexistence in the curricula of public and private universities and schools, and of course holding conferences and seminars for promoting human rights involving civil society and organizations, in emphasizing the role of women in building society based on peace. Now, to fight that, we worked also on combating ideas that are incompatible with the nature of our values, and the customs and traditions that require the concerted efforts of all societal efforts, and starting from the family, then school, then university, then controlling the mechanisms, as you know, of social communication, through which general issues are presented to young people for discussion in an open, rational dialogue. And this is very important. Now, it's good mentioning here one of the books that I read, and we knew that in 2017 Dr. Jamal Swedi presented his literacy masterpiece, which is The Mirage, or in Arabic, Al-Sarab, and how talking about how dark thought is confronted with enlightened, purposeful thought. So, in addition to my book, this book talks in a way trying to evaluate or headlight on the situation of fighting extremism. And he emphasizes that education is the most important means, and that will help to implement strategies on highlighting the values of openness, acceptance, and others, and tolerance, maybe successfully. Now, the role of education, as you know, in confronting the fertile environments that dark and terrorist groups and those with the extremists ideology, they are trying to exploit, to spread their ideas, especially among young people. Now, in Jordan, you know that the official directives of the committee that we have for fighting extremism is responsible for developing education in Jordan, confirmed that the importance of education in combating extremism and terrorism, and this concept discusses the role that education plays in building generations that possess open ideology and conscious minds, and people who are capable of confronting the destruction or the destructive ideas spread by extremist and terrorist groups, as well as, you know, developing educational curricula to inculcate moderate thought by continuously supplementing educational curricula with materials that have spread awareness in society, and thus contributing to bridging the gaps through which extremists and terrorists, both groups, try to penetrate into the minds of the young people, unfortunately. Now, the national plan works on combating extremism in Jordan. It defines the responsibility of the Ministry of Education to confront the extremism that has invaded the region by promoting the values of tolerance and consolidating the meanings of moderation and higher human values among students. And as you know, the Jordanian Ministry of Education allocated the first class ever, which is Tuesday, to raise awareness about the threat of terrorism and the need to combat it, and and to encourage combating violence and extremism and its various forms. That a class was termed, as you know, Fighting Terror class. And it's good mentioning why Jordan is stable also. And what was the role of the system, the Hashemite system, that its education plays an important role in achieving sustainable development and combating extremism and terrorism. And the war of terrorism is primarily taken as an intellectual war, and this makes education a fertile arena for extremists groups to wage this war. Now, Jordan presents a pioneering model for countries in which social and moral responsibility is widely spread, and the efforts of various institutions are integrated with the state in addressing the phenomenon of extremism and terrorism. And you know that educational institutions in Jordan are in an advanced position, thanks God, within the comprehensive strategy adopted by Jordan to confront this phenomenon. And perhaps this explains the state of general stability that Jordan enjoys at all levels in a way. Now, for this, if we are working, I think if we are working on fighting extremism through curricula, and we need first to understand the situation and analyze it correctly. And this is what I try to do in my publications and books on this issue. So I used the pestle analysis, which is all the political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental aspects So it's an analysis that takes all the keys in analyzing external factors and internal factors that influence the education system in Jordan for the aim of fighting extremism and terrorism. And I know that it should be used in a range of different scenarios, and that can guide professionals and seniors in strategic decision making. So I produced through the years also, beginning 2006, then 2010 and 12, and many books. One of them was Human Rights and Peace Education, and another one was Education, which is Education and Sustainable Development Compass, taking it as a compass, and many other books on fighting terrorism. Now, the Jordanian universities are playing a leading role. I'm teaching in one of the universities in Jordan. They are taking a leading role in confronting terrorism and extremism by spreading the values of tolerance and compatibility and constructive communication through their curricula. And Jordanian universities should also, I believe, my recommendations were that they should also build students intellectually and immunize them against terrorism and intellectual extremism by building an integrated personality, for example, and promoting the values of citizenship and national identity. Now, the role of Jordanian universities in confronting terrorism and intellectual extremism comes through three pillars, I believe, of university education. First, education, as positive values must be instilled in the hearts of students, including respect for others with all their affiliations, orientations, and ideas. Second, that scientific research must be directed to study the causes of terrorism, extremism, and its motives, and the best means to confront it, and then the setting of the implementation mechanisms. Third, the community service and the environmental development, it has a pivotal role in working to engage students with society through camps and development convoys that meet the needs of society and contribute to solving its problems. Now, what are the actions to be done? Now, education about different cultures. It's very important, the awareness of different cultures and tolerance among individuals that must be enhanced by teaching children and youth about the different values and different cultures that exist in society. Also, education about rights and freedoms. Individuals must be taught about the human rights and basic freedoms to which they are entitled, as well as enhancing awareness of the importance of combating discrimination, racism, and religious and political intolerance. Now, education about scientific criticism also. Individuals must be taught about scientific criticism, critical analysis, critical thinking, in order to enable them to evaluate ideas and beliefs in a logical and scientific manner, and to reject extremist ideas and intellectual extremism. And also providing the appropriate environment, which is the educational institution must provide the appropriate environment for critical thinking and mutual dialogue by encouraging individuals to cooperate and interact with each other. And my recommendations were that coordination or coordinating efforts with all relevant institutions and stakeholders with the aim of unifying efforts in confronting the phenomena of extremism and terrorism, and directing experts and specialists to study the phenomena of extremism and terrorism in depth more in order to identify the dangers that the Jordanian youth may face, and developing also the curricula in schools for all stages and universities, and including them with open thinking, rejecting hate speech, and confronting extremism and terrorism, and also directing non-curricular activities or extracurricular activities in a direction that develops the concept of combating extremism and terrorism. Now, of course, that was a brief on a way to think about future extremism and terrorism, how it should be given and thought to fight through education. Thanks for listening, and looking forward to more cooperation in Sweden with both universities, Gothenburg University and Uppsala University. God bless.